Hi guys, so welcome to this week's video. Really excited this week because we've got a new series for you which is going to be coming out monthly, and it's going to be me interviewing people who have moved over to France, and we're going to share with you their story to hopefully inspire you. And I'm just off now to meet the first person, so let's go. So I'm here at Lynn's house and we're going to go in and have a chat with her. Okay, so why did you decide to move to rural France?
Well, we made a decision back in 2005 that we decided that we wanted to move here because we just wanted a better life. We had 2 young children and the day-to-day grind in England was just becoming a bit too much for my husband and me. So we had originally planned that we were going to move here for our retirement, but then we kind of brought our plans forward a bit, and we put our house on the market, and we just thought, well, let's go for it now. Why the kids are young and we can integrate them well, and why we were still young so that we could find jobs and things, so we just went for it.
So did you always dream of moving to France?
Well, yes, when we'd kind of got married, and my husband was French and he'd been living in England for about 10 years, and we decided that perhaps we'd have children, they'd grow up in England, and then when the children had left home and we were getting near retirement, that we thought that we would go back to France. So it had always been a dream of ours, but when I was younger I'd visited France and I'd loved the culture and the way of life and the country, and even before I got married, I thought, well, perhaps one day, it would be nice to move to France, or even perhaps have a holiday home in France. So yes, I suppose it been a dream for both of us and for my husband to return back to France.
So why did you choose sort of such a rural area of France?
Well, originally when we started looking, we went down to the Poitou-Charentes area, just south of Limoges. We started looking down near Angoulême and round in that area, going towards the Vendée. But unfortunately, I know this is going to sound really awful, but there was so many English there that we didn't want to become part of an English community. So that was one holiday where we rented a gîte and we were looking around for 2 weeks, and then the following year we came over here and we rented a gîte not far from here, and we started looking in this area, and we just came across the town where we live now, and we just thought it's really lovely. It's in the country. It was very similar to the town where we lived in Devon. It was a nice sized town with hospitals and schools and doctors and things like that, and this is the same town as well. And we just thought it would be a very nice place, to have the transition period, that it wouldn't be too much of a shock us moving to France, to have all the amenities and facilities that we wanted, rather than being in the middle of nowhere and have no neighbours or anything.
So did you find that there was any challenges in moving to France?
Just the language. I wish that I'd learnt to speak French before I arrived.
So have you found anything hard about living in France?
Just the paperwork. There's so much paperwork, and the French admit it themselves. All the time I say to people, why is there so much paperwork? And everybody says La France. It's French.
So what do you miss about the UK?
That's a really difficult question, because I've been living here now for 13 years. I've gone back for holidays and I've gone back to see friends and family. And it was very weird. The first kind of time I went back was when I'd been living here for about 5 years, I think it was. Because
that's quite a long period.
Yeah, because once you move to France, everybody wants to come and visit you.
Yeah.
So if you move to France, everybody will want to come on holiday. So the first 5 years, we were inundated with people coming to visit us. So we never had the need to go back to England to see people, because they were all coming to see us. And then we took the children back, and I went back, and I remember thinking, oh, it's so busy. There's so many people, and the houses are really small, and the gardens are really small, and the roads are really small, and there's too many people on the roads. And I remember I got into the car and I thought, oh, I'm glad I'm going home.
Yeah.
And that was my point, where I thought to myself, I don't see England as home anymore. And I thought to myself, what do I miss in England? Do I miss pubs? Do I miss restaurants? Do I miss going to like, you know, shopping centres or going shopping in the high street and things like that. I miss some of the foods, but luckily in France you can get some of those foods now. So I don't really miss much about England, really.
So I suppose you sort of answered this question, but would you ever go back to the UK?
No.
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 Straight off, no.
Straight off, no. No.
Yeah.
No, well, you can never say no, can you? You never know what's going to happen. I love the life here, and I love the attitude here, and I love the fact that you have big houses with nice gardens, and, you know, they cost probably about as much as what a 2-bedroom semi-detached house costs in England, you know, and you've got a massive garden and everything. But no, I don't miss the life, I don't miss the business and everything, no.
I have to say, you've got a gorgeous piece of
Yes.
French countryside here
Yes,
with
yes, with a wood
with
in
a
the back
wood in
garden.
the background. Yeah, no, exactly. Do you get lots of animals, wild
Yes,
animals?
we get deer that come in. We've got
Wow.
foxes. We've got ragondin, which I don't know what that is in
I
English.
think the koipus.
Koipu, I think it's
yeah,
koipus.
yeah.
We get rabbits. We get loads of birds, lots of rare birds because they like the woods in the back. So where would you get that in England, having a wood in your back garden?
So how, obviously you've been here living for 15 years, but how do you sort of make a living here in France?
When I'd started to learn the language, I started looking around to see what I could do. And at the time, you know, back in 2009, 2010, there wasn't that much opportunity for English people in this area. And I was just looking through a local paper one day, and I stumbled across an advert for a company that were looking for English families to welcome French students to learn English.
Okay.
So I thought, well, we could do that. We've got children. They could help with the English. Both my children are bilingual. You know, they'd started to kind of like really get to know French. So I contacted the company, and they said yes, they would be interested. And we welcomed our first student that year. And that carried on like that. So that was my job, so as to speak, but it wasn't really a job. It was just like speaking English, speaking my home language, and learning how to kind of like interact with them and have conversations. And we did activities, and it was just a little corner of England here. You know, we did English food, we watched English television, and as we got more known, people booked more. And then I was thinking one year, I thought, well, I could do this myself. I could set up my own company and do it myself. And in 2012, 2013, La Touche Anglaise was born. And I did my own website, I did my own publicity, the local papers did articles on me. And and then every school holiday, we only did it during the school holidays, but every school holidays we were fully booked for French students coming here to learn English.
Wow, excellent. And I believe you've got some exciting new challenges ahead, so you've set up a new business, is that right?
Yes, well, last year during the pandemic, during COVID, when everybody was in lockdown, I'd had this dream about perhaps starting up like an English tea shop, which I'd had when I moved to France, but at the time I couldn't kind of like do that because my French wasn't very good. And I decided that, well, why not stop at an English tea shop, perhaps open up like a craft centre and have a space where local artists and artisans could come in and sell their products, and we could display all their arts and crafts. And then it kind of like snowballed from there. So then I decided to add in like a dress agency, which kind of like sells pre-loved and pre-owned clothes, and handbags and shoes and accessories. And then we kind of like got on board then with French Chic, the chalk and mineral paint people in England. They're in France, and we became an official stockist for the paint as well.
Excellent.
So we're like a concept store, and we've got lots of activities under one roof. And yes, so that kind of like was born with my business partner Tina, and we opened in March this year.
And what's that called?
Riva Concept Store in La Chatte.
Excellent.
We've got our regulars that come and have our kind of like English cakes and kind of like delicacies, and they come and shop in the dress agency, and you know, using all the spaces. And the paint has been selling well for people doing up and recycling their old furniture. So yes, it's kind of like it's been slow, but it's, as we say, it's little by little, step by step.
What would you say to anyone thinking about moving to France?
Do lots of preparation. We did lots of preparation. We went to different areas in France. We knew roughly where we wanted to live. We wanted to be within 2.5 hours of Paris because that's where my husband's mother lived. We wanted to be able to find it easy to get back to England, so we wanted to be within an hour, hour and a half of an airport, and Limoges is only an hour and a half away for us to get flights back to England. And we wanted somewhere rural, but you have to be sure of what you want, because a lot of people move over here, and I know the dream is to buy a little cottage in the country with blue shutters and lavender bushes, and it's very French, you know, and very typical, but it stops you from being kind of like in the French way of life. If you bury yourself out into the country, sometimes you don't kind of like immerse yourself because you don't have any neighbours. Try to learn some French before you come over here. It's very important, because even though a lot of French people speak English, they like the fact that you try, and just know what you want to get out of life. You know, what kind of life you want to live in France. Do you want to work here? Do you want to retire here? Do you want to have a business? Just do your preparation before you come.
Do you have any top tips for people moving to France?
I think you've got to be sure of your decision. It's not a decision that take lightly. You can't just say, oh, well, let's move to France on a whim. I think you've got to be sure that you want to come and live here, because it is very different from England. And just be open to learning new things. Just be open to kind of like living the French life, because things just kind of like come along and you just kind of like have to take it in your stride. And, you know, just be prepared perhaps that you will be a bit homesick and you will miss England, but just kind of like, you know, enjoy life here, because you know there is a life to be enjoyed here.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'd totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Lynn. It's been a pleasure here. We haven't had a chance to eat the pastries, but I'm sure we'll do that now.
Off camera.
Oh, do that off camera.
Definitely.
But yeah, thank you very much, and good luck with your store. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We're hopefully going to be doing these new series once a month, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos, and I'll see you next time. Cheers guys, bye.